Although I live, work, and write in London, I was raised in Hawaii and consider it my true home. However, few people know that I was actually born in Japan and spent the first 4 years of my life in Tokyo. It was here that my father, who was an American GI, met my mother Linda, who was an interpreter at the local officers' club in Hokkaido. It's been over 20 years since I was last here, and I've come back to see if the city has changed at all, because it was Tokyo that launched my career as a model. I was 15 when I first visited Tokyo with my mom, who sadly died last year. We stayed at a little hotel that overlooked the Imperial Palace and Gardens. However, today I'm checking into the Peninsula, one of Tokyo's newest and most exclusive hotels. I've been lucky enough to stay in some of the greatest hotels in the world, but I've been told that the Peninsula is leading the way with its technology, standards of service, and luxurious guest rooms. I get a sitting room, a dining room, a double bedroom, a bathroom with his and hers sinks, and a walk-in wardrobe. I counted no less than 8 telephones, and of course there's a television in every room, even the bathroom. And like that little hotel I stayed in all those years ago with my mom, I've got the most incredible view of the Imperial Palace and its gardens. Tokyo is 8 hours ahead from my home in London. My flight took 12 hours, and I'm just about ready for bed. However, before I hit the hay, I'm going to keep my appointment at the Peninsula's world-famous spa for a little me time. I can't think of any better way than to unwind after a long flight with a fantastic massage. This is just great, and I'm going to sleep so well. After a great night's sleep, I'm raring to go and to see how Tokyo's landscape has changed. There's no better place to do that than from the air, and I know I'm going to get a breathtaking bird's-eye view of this extraordinary city, which was built over 400 years ago. It's only really from a helicopter that you can tell just how big Tokyo is. In fact, if you include all of its suburbs, Tokyo is the largest city in the world with a population of 35 million. That's roughly 13,500 people for every square kilometer. Looking at the city today, it's hard to believe that in the last 100 years, Tokyo has suffered 2 major catastrophes. The first was the Great Earthquake in 1923, and the other, of course, was during World War II. During 1945, over half of the city was completely destroyed, and over 200,000 people lost their lives here. It was in Tokyo, aged 15 and on holiday with my mom, that I was first discovered as a model, and I spent 4 very happy years here, learning my trade. Nowadays, young models still come to this thriving fashion capital to learn the ropes, and by the looks of things, nothing much has changed. except maybe the amount of people it takes to take a photograph. My first modeling contract in Japan was with Kanebo Cosmetics. Back then, it was just known in Japan, but today, Kanebo is one of the leading global brands whose products are sold all over the world. I've come back to see Masayoshi Nakano, who I haven't seen in over 30 years, and I'm wondering if he'll remember me. Masayoshi is now Kanebo's special advisor, but when I was under contract with them, he was just a junior there. But before my meeting, I've got a little time to look around Kanebo's offices and secret laboratories. It's so nice to be back, Nakano-san.
Yeah.
It's so lovely to see you.
今回ものすごい長い時間を経てまさか会えると本当に思ってなかったです。びっくりしました。
Really?
大変嬉しいです。でこれでね、実は僕はこの時ね、これは70年の春なんですけども、まだ僕はカネボウに入社してまだ半年も経っていない、もうメイキャップアーティストに初めてなろうかなとした時だったんです。で僕が1969年10月に入社したんですけども、僕の先輩がこのデザイン画をね、実は作ってたのを目の当たりに見てたんです。派手なメイクだなという印象を覚えてます。
It is an extravaganza. It's something, it's so unusual, but it so defines that period.
とにかく実はメイクの幕開けを告げた一枚だったんです。つまりこんな思い切ったことをメイクは楽しんでいいんだよということを知らしめたプロモーション、それのモデルということでものすごく歓迎されたんです。だから保守的な人も大変多かったんだけども、これが街中にあふれたもんですから、もっと自分を好きにやっていいんだ、色をつけてもいいんだ、口紅派手にしていいんだ、それからね、つけまつげがものすごい流行ったんです。つけまつげがだいたい当時ね、上は2枚重ねて下1枚だから合計3枚ぐらい実は日本人みんなこの時つけたんです。これで
Nakano-san, thank you so much for seeing me. It's been so lovely
Yeah.
visiting with you. And you too look the same.
いやどうも
As well as being known as one of the fashion capitals of the world, Tokyo is also known as one of the shopping centers of the world. All the biggest names are here, but because Tokyo is so huge, it's difficult to know where to begin. So I'm going to meet Nicole Farr, who runs a company called Bespoke Tokyo. Nicole should be able to point me in the right direction for one of my very favorite pastimes.
We were basically getting lots of emails and requests from our friends to give all our information on what was cool and what was new and what was hot in Tokyo. So we thought, well, I know, why don't we just try and turn this into a business? So we came up with the idea of urban safaris.
I love that.
Thank
Urban
you.
safari. And what kind of people go on the urban safari?
Well, actually, I mean, we get a range of people, anyone from, in the creative industries, we've had pop stars. So anyone really coming to Japan who wants to have a unique experience and see the city in the way that locals see the city.
So tell me, a visitor coming to Tokyo, what is so unique about the shopping experience here?
Well, in Japan, the service levels are really high. So people come here and they're kind of overwhelmed just how polite Japanese society is. You know, it takes service to a whole new level.
Yeah, that certainly doesn't exist in London, does it?
Absolutely not. The retail is pretty much Tokyo's main selling point. People, when they come here, they just want to hit the shops and see as many stores as they can.
It's a shopping destination, actually, in a way.
Absolutely, yeah. And there's flagship stores and from brands here that you won't see anywhere else in the world.
So Nicole, how important are the Western brands to the Japanese customer?
Japanese are very brand savvy, and when it comes to purchasing brands, especially luxury brands, the main point of interest for the Japanese is, is it well made? Does it have a good brand story behind it? Does it have a history as well? And for the Japanese, that's probably the key points in any purchasing decision. Recently, in terms of luxury brands, fine jewellery has become just as important as perhaps, handbags and clothes as well. So you'll see that brands like Christian Dior are really pushing their fine jewellery here in Japan.
And tell me, what is this thing about concept stores? What is that?
In Japan, concept stores have gone to a new level. For example, at the Alfred Dunhill store, you have a bar in there, and you just wouldn't find that in other shops around the world. Armani has a spa, and Chanel has a restaurant.
So why are the luxury brands so important to the Japanese?
Well, in Japan, younger people have more money than perhaps their Western counterparts. They don't leave home as early, so they can actually go out there and explore what's actually out there in the retail landscape, buy more brands, and and kind of almost establish their identity too by buying these brands. If you're really into Louis Vuitton, you establish your group identity by Louis Vuitton because all your friends are buying it too.
Yeah, and that is really unique to the Japanese, isn't it? Because for us in the West, we buy to be unique. We want to be different. We don't want to be the same.
Absolutely.
That's so interesting, isn't it?
No, it's less about individuality here and more about being part of the group.
Nicole, it's been absolutely fascinating. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's an absolute pleasure.
Okay, I think I'm going to have a look in there.
Okay, have a fun time.
Thank you. Bye. Bathing Ape is one of Tokyo's newest and coolest designer labels. This two-story shop is situated in Harajuku, one of the many shopping districts whose shops include Prada, Cartier, Louis Vuitton, Chanel, Gucci, in fact pretty much every single luxury brand you can think of. But I think this shop, with its incredible design features, including a shiny conveyor belt and huge window dedicated just to trainers, stands out from the rest. This is one of my favorite things. Look at that. Inside is a t-shirt. The t-shirt is of Mr. Marlon Brando, whose knee I once sat on when I was about 8 years old in Hawaii, and it goes for 160 euros. So far, what I've seen of Tokyo is a very modern city, but coming up later, I'm going to go in search of an older Tokyo. It's been over 20 years since I last visited Tokyo, and so far my impressions are of a very modern, busy city. However, it's still possible to find a more traditional side to Tokyo, and in my opinion, no visit is complete without taking part in one of the most beautiful and calming rituals imaginable, the Japanese tea ceremony, where the art of serving tea gives a new meaning to hospitality. The practice dates back to the 12th century, when a new form of tea from China called matcha was introduced by a Japanese monk named Issei. This powdered green tea was first used in religious rituals in Buddhist monasteries, and by the 13th century, samurai warriors had begun preparing and drinking matcha as they adopted Zen Buddhism, and the foundations of the tea ceremony were laid. During the ceremony, every movement has to be ordered and considered, and in some cases, for very special guests, it can take up to 4 hours to complete. However long it takes, though, believe me when I say it's worth the wait.
Yes. Please. Thank you.
This is a tradition that is hundreds and hundreds of years old. It's a bit uncomfortable if you've got long legs, but it's really worth it. It's so beautiful, the ceremony. The tea is delicious. And you get to soak up a little bit of that old Tokyo, where outside these windows is a modern Tokyo bustling away. There are literally thousands of restaurants in Tokyo, most of which serve incredible Japanese food. However, I've been a vegetarian all my life, so I really wanted to come to this restaurant in particular. It's called Tofuya Ukai, and is situated at the foot of the Tokyo Tower. I've come to eat here because of its specialty, tofu. Once inside, it's easy to forget you're in one of the busiest cities in the world. Come here and you'll see why. As you walk through the exquisite gardens to your very own dining room, you know you're in for a gastronomic treat. The food is extraordinary and made all the better by being in such beautiful surroundings. It is quite expensive, but the 9-course meal will be one I won't forget in a hurry.
Oh my.
I'm off now to see Nick Wood, an old friend from London. He's lived in Tokyo for the last 20 years. With his friends Simon and Yasmin Laban, Nick founded SIN, one of the first international music production companies in Japan. He also owns and runs Le Baron, Tokyo's trendiest nightclub with its bespoke karaoke rooms, including this one in gold. I wanted to talk to Nick about the changes he'd seen in Tokyo over the last 20 years.
So Marie, how long is it since you've been back in Tokyo?
Wow, it's such a long time ago. I was here in the 70s. I think it was about 1970 to 73.
Wow.
But when did you come to Japan, and when did this all happen?
It was my 20th anniversary in February.
Wow. 日本語話しますか?
少しだけ.
本当に?
Yeah.
My gosh, I would never have imagined all those years ago meeting
So
you
it's quite-
at Bailey's studio
yeah.
that I see you 20-some years later and we're speaking Japanese in a gold room.
Yeah.
How wild is that? But tell me about this place. It's fantastic.
Well, Tokyo had some incredible nightclubs over the years, and sadly they seemed to disappear. They got driven out. And a very good friend of mine, Mark Newson, Mark's a frequent visitor to Tokyo, and we said, well, why don't we try and open one in Tokyo? Because we need a place to go. And I'm sure if we need a place, then lots of other people need a place. So we opened Le Baron. There's something about Tokyo that I find absolutely fascinating.
It's interesting that you felt that the first time you came, just as a visitor, just as a
yeah.
tourist. And from that moment on, there was some
I always
link
felt
here.
like I was living in Blade Runner, you know, it's one of my favourite films, and I think it just, you know, even 20 years ago, there were less foreign visitors or residents.
To ask you, the changes over this period of 20 years, from when you first arrived to now. I mean, you really must have seen everything.
Yeah, I've seen a great deal. There's certainly a lot more foreign residents here. I don't know the numbers officially, but it's significant now. So the novelty of being the one of the few foreigners 20 years ago, that's gone away. My studio and where I live is in Azabu-Juban.
Yeah, I used to live there.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I used to.
You
I
see?
lived there because they had a bathhouse.
And it just closed.
So I was told.
Oh, I was
And you know,
really sad.
Oh, I love that bathhouse.
Azabu-Juban Onsen.
Yes, because in my apartment, as you know, I don't know if it's like that today, but then your bathtub, you had to stand up to have a bath. In the Azabu-Juban bathhouse, you could go, spread out, you know, lay down, do whatever you want.
And it's an onsen. It's actually
And it's
onsen,
an onsen,
water.
exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so sad that that closed.
I love that area.
But does the noodle shop still exist?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
Sarashina.
So,
Yes.
the tempura
yeah.
soba.
Yeah. Amazing. It's been there a long. that one I don't think will go. Their business
thank
is too good.
goodness.
I hope. Tokyo's a very ruthless kind of their building practices, and they'll knock down if someone buys a piece of land and they don't like the building. They'll knock it down, whether it's a year old or 200 years old.
I think that's the thing that's unique about Japan, that they're constantly wanting to move forward.
Yeah.
yet at the same time moving forward, but still kind of in a weird way being Japanese and retaining that kind of identity, unlike any other city, I think, in the world.
I mean, my hope is that I really want the more of the traditional appreciation, and I not because it's not an old-fashioned thing. It's just such an amazing, gorgeous aspect of life in Japan, like the onsens or the ryokans or I mean, of course, the food. The Japanese really have an appreciation of super well-made products.
Why do they have that that sense?
Well, you look at their culture, you look at their food, you look at their presentation, you look at their amazing craftsmen, whether it's a shrine, a temple, or a piece of wood on a sushi bar or whatever. They make incredible things. So I think they have it in their their upbringing that beautifully well-made things can last forever. I just hope that many of the small one-man shops can remain in business, and that the Japanese give them, see it as being an important part of their identity.
Me too.
Yeah.
And I hope we see each other again when that happens.
Let's not leave it 25 years.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. It was wonderful to see Nick Wood at his nightclub, because Tokyo really is the city that never sleeps, especially in the Shinjuku district, made famous by Bill Murray in the movie Lost in Translation. Seeing Shinjuku by taxi is great. However, take a wander around and be adventurous. Go off the beaten track and walk through the smaller side alleys, where you will discover tiny restaurants serving incredible food. As you pass by, each one gives a different but delicious smell, and I feel that these alleyways bring me a little closer to the Tokyo I remember. On my last day in Tokyo, there's really only one thing left for me to do, and that's to visit the Asakusa district, home to the city's oldest Buddhist temple, where visitors come to pray to Kannon, the Buddhist god of mercy. The temple is called Sensuji and was built in 628. I don't know, though. There seems to be more picture taking by tourists than praying by Buddhists. But if you look closely and try to ignore the clicking of cameras, you can still feel a real sense of spiritualism here. By just taking a short walk away from the crowds, you can find the old Tokyo. The Tokyo I remember all those years ago when I first came here with my mom. Although I was born here and worked here, Tokyo was never my home, but it was my mom's. This is where she grew up, and although it's the same place, it's a different city. It's a city where the traditional and modern meet, and for the most part, get along pretty well. Tokyo is a wonderful place to visit. And next time, I won't leave it 20 years before I come back.